man, you got this stuff handed to you. You're Dana White privilege. And that is a famous quote by El Kukui Tony Ferguson. I actually agree with that statement. I've seen this for so many years. If Brock Lesnar had not retired 3 years ago and wanted to come back and fight, he would have fought Daniel Cormier before Stipe had the rematch, just because of Dana White privilege. St. Pierre got to come back after his loss to Johnny Hendricks 4 or 5 years later to fight for the middleweight title. And he never fought a middleweight before. He didn't want to fight Anderson Silva, all because of Dana White privilege. Conor McGregor, another prime example, has a suspect win over Cowboy Cerrone, who needs to retire, obviously. Then he ends up getting knocked out silly by Dustin Poirier, and now he's about to fight him again, and supposedly the winner of that fight gets to fight the winner of Oliveira and Chandler, all because of Dana White privilege, even though Conor has not really done anything to deserve a title fight. And this goes on and on about the Dana White privilege thing. I'm a firm believer in the Dana White privilege. It was just a certain way to put it that I never thought of, but Tony Ferguson said it just right yesterday or the day before. And did you guys see how Dana White reacted to the press conference? He threw his head back to it means shut up, I don't want to hear that, man. I don't want to hear about myself. That's just the way it is. Now, I do disagree with one thing when Tony kept talking about how I'm Mexican this and I'm Mexican that. I don't think that's holding him back at all. I just think you got to look at the numbers that Conor McGregor brings in when he fights and the stuff that comes out of his mouth, the drama, the controversy that occurs with him in and outside of his fighting career, And I don't mean just the press conferences, him punching an old woman, supposedly him raping women, him doing this and doing that, charges being pressed against him outside of the rape charges. That attracts attention, that draws money, simply because controversy creates cash. All right? So, of course it's going to draw a little favoritism, It's the fight business, but again, it's business. It's all about the money. You look back 3 years ago when Francis fought Stipe the first time, that's why Dana White, I wouldn't say Dana didn't like Stipe, but he knows Francis will bring him more money than Stipe does. So, of course, he's going to lean towards Francis a little bit. All right? That's why he was okay with Brock Lesnar fighting Cormier before Stipe got a second crack at him, simply because, again, Brock Lesnar brings money. You got to remember, Brock Lesnar lost 2 fights, Cain Velasquez and Overeem. Then he didn't fight again for another 4 or 5 years. Has a no contest fight with Mark Hunt because he cannot pass a drug test. Yet he can still get a title fight just because he's Brock Lesnar and he brings more money. Oh, well, it is what it is. And again, John Jones, this was probably pretty bad. He, again, tested positive for steroids. Not before the Cormier rematch, not after the Cormier rematch, not those 2 times. The third time, when he had a pinch of salt of steroids in his system within a little bit before his rematch with Gustafsson. And when the woman tried to ask Dana White, why is this guy not facing 2-year suspension? And instead, why is this fight being moved to somewhere else? And it's still happening. Well, guess what? Money talks, So I can totally see where Tony Ferguson's coming from. And I totally see why Stipe, Tyron Woodley, and other guys that didn't get paid as much, Cain Velasquez, the list goes on, why people didn't get paid as much as they feel like they should, simply because they didn't bring in enough money. They didn't bring in enough attention, That's why you see Conor McGregor. That's why you see Jorge Masvidal. That's why you see Colby Covington. That's why you see, these other fighters bring in so much money because of the stuff that they do outside the octagon, the controversy, the trash talk, those things that contribute to the Dana White privilege. So it is what it is. And I've also noticed when you have the Dana White privilege, you get to duck certain fights. You kind of, I wouldn't say duck, but you kind of get to choose your opponents more than the guy that doesn't say anything. He just shuts up and fights. Guys like Tony Ferguson, Tyron Woodley, they shut up and fought whoever they were supposed to fight. McGregor, St. Pierre, who else was accused of choosing their opponents? John Jones has been accused of that. Especially lately, he doesn't want to fight Francis. They're saying all that stuff. But, yeah, it is what it is, It just goes to show you that money is power. It's like that in real life, and it's like that in the fight game. So, it is what it is, But You know, yeah, I'm a total believer of the Dana White privilege. I don't think it's just there, but in real life too. Oh yeah, tonight I'm calling it. Ferguson wins a TKO in the third round. I changed that part. And has my Chandler and Oliveira fight changed? Nope. Chandler's gonna get run through in 2 rounds. He's gonna get knocked out or submitted. I guarantee you, and this fight will not be close. And it will back up what I said when I said Chandler has no business fighting in the UFC because he's gonna get killed by a real fighter like Charles the Bronx Oliveira. Yeah. Brazil, let's go.